1925 true story. One morning, a woman named Andrea received news that a gunshot had been heard from her father's house. Andrea and her husband George couldn't believe the news. As soon as they heard it, both of them left for her father's house. Her father lived in a large government mansion, which was located in another city. So by the time they reached there, it was evening. When they arrived, they saw that the police had gathered outside the mansion, and no one was allowed to enter the house. The police were not letting Andrea and her husband George inside either. According to the police, there was a ghost in the house that had been freed after many years. When Andrea asked for the full story, she learned that many years ago, in 1865, an 18-year-old boy used to live there. He loved a girl deeply, but when she rejected his love, he shot himself and ended his life. Since then, his ghost had been wandering around the mansion. After that, strange deaths began to occur among the people living in the house. With great difficulty, the boy's spirit was locked inside a room with the help of a priest, and that room was permanently sealed. However, Andrea's father, who had recently bought the mansion, didn't believe in these stories. While renovating the house, he broke the lock and opened the sealed room, freeing the boy's terrifying soul. The police said that perhaps the boy's soul had killed Andrea's father, and now if anyone entered the house, the boy's spirit would kill them too. Upon hearing such superstitious talk from the police, Andrea and George became extremely angry and decided to go inside themselves. They entered the house, but as soon as Andrea reached her father's room, she burst into tears. Friends, do you think you can ever win something big in a giveaway? No, right? I used to think the same, but recently, many people have won easily. Everyone has an equal chance to win a car. This time, Win One is giving away 3 luxury cars at once. So, the sooner you start, the more tickets you'll collect, and your chances of winning will increase. So, what are you waiting for? The link is in the pinned comment. After this video, quickly join the contest and bring home 3 luxury cars. Cause when she entered, she saw her father's body lying on the ground with a bullet wound in his head. When Andrea looked around, she couldn't find George anywhere. She panicked even more upon not finding George and started calling out for him, but there was no response. At that moment, Andrea didn't know what to do. She stood there, frightened, calling out for her husband, when suddenly she heard the sound of someone crying. Then she heard her husband crying. Andrea ran toward the sound of her husband's voice, but just then, she heard another gunshot. Andrea gasped, shocked by the sight. She found George's body, with a bullet wound in his head, and next to him lay the same gun that had been found near her father's body earlier. Suddenly, Andrea felt as if someone had placed a hand on her shoulder. Something grabbed her from behind. When she tried to turn her neck to see, she saw an 18-year-old boy with a bullet wound in his head, just like her father and husband. But as soon as Andrea looked at him, the boy disappeared into thin air. Even after all this, Andrea somehow mustered the courage to drag her husband's and father's bodies out of the house. But after that day, she completely changed and became very quiet. Even on the day of her father and George's funeral, she didn't respond to anything George's parents said or to her brother. She was in shock. Everyone around her was worried. But no one knew how terrified Andrea really was, because since the death of her father and husband, she kept seeing the same 18-year-old boy everywhere. He would grab her body at any time and whisper in her ear that he had fallen deeply in love with her, and if she rejected his love, he would kill her too. Wherever Andrea went, the boy appeared, grabbing her every time and injuring her body badly. Terrified and troubled, Andrea even went to a psychiatrist, but nothing helped. Her body was covered in bruises every day. Slowly, her mental state worsened. Then one day, the people living near the mansion witnessed something strange and terrifying. They saw a very weak-looking Andrea running, breaking the lock of the mansion, and rushing inside. Before anyone could understand what was happening, they heard a gunshot from inside the mansion. When no one entered for a long time, the news reached the mayor of the city, who ordered the police officers to go inside with a priest. Frightened, when two inspectors entered the house, they found Andrea's body lying on the ground with a bullet wound in her head and a gun next to her. Seeing this, they were convinced that all of this was the work of the 18-year-old boy's spirit. After this incident, the mansion was permanently sealed forever. Friends, this week on our crime channel, The Crime Show, we bring you a true crime story that will blow your mind. A boy doesn't come home all night, and his family starts to worry. In the morning, his father receives a call from him, and the boy cries, saying, "Dad, I've been kidnapped. Please save me." Will his father be able to save him, or will he never return? And how exactly was he kidnapped? If you liked our story, Haunted Mansion, don't forget to subscribe.